Hey, I'm Jesse. Let's have a devotion. We're going to look at Psalm 55. It's 23 verses long. I believe that it has prophetic significance to the fact that it would be one of the disciples who broke bread with Jesus who would betray him, making the betrayal all the more painful. Here's Psalm 55. It is betrayal by a friend for the choir director with stringed instruments, a maskil of David. So these superscripts are suggested musical stylings or even instrumentation. God, listen to my prayer and do not hide from my plea for help. Pay attention to me and answer me. I am restless and in turmoil with my complaint because of the enemy's words, because of the pressure of the wicked, for they bring down disaster on me and harass me in anger. My heart shudders within me. Terrors of death sweep over me. Fear and trembling grip me. Horror has overwhelmed me. I said, if only I had wings like a dove, I would fly away and find rest. How far away I would flee. I would stay in the wilderness. Selah. And so we're called to pause and reflect on this. I get it. Sometimes you just want to run away. David likely wrote this after betrayal, and he's betrayed by a lot of guys. Saul and Absalom are kind of the primary people who betray and pursue David for his life. Absalom's actually his son. And the manner of Absalom's death is particularly brutal. And there's a reason for that. And it even actually has bearing on the ending of this psalm. Right, so this is pressure brought on by the wicked, and slander and disaster and harassment. And it has this horrific effect on David. Here's verse 8. I would hurry to my shelter from the raging wind and storm. Lord, confuse and confound their speech. For I see violence and strife in the city. Day and night they make the rounds on its walls. Crime and trouble are within it. Destruction is inside it. Oppression and deceit never leave its marketplace. Now it is not an enemy who insults me, otherwise I could bear it. It is not a foe who rises up against me, otherwise I could hide from him. But it is you, a man who is my peer, my companion and good friend. We used to have close fellowship. We walked with the crowd into the house of God. Let death take them by surprise. Let them go down to Sheol alive, because evil is in their homes and within them. Woo! That's an imprecatory prayer right there. And one that God's going to answer. I'll show you at the end. But I call to God, and the Lord will save me. I complain and groan morning, noon, and night, and he hears my voice. Though many are against me, he will redeem me from my battle unharmed. God, the enthroned one from long ago, will hear and humiliate them. Selah. So we're trusting in God to bring justice. We're trusting in God for vindication when vindication is appropriate. We're waiting upon the Lord. He's been going before God all day long, and the Lord hears. Because they do not change and do not fear God. My friend acts violently against those at peace with him. He violates his covenant. His buttery words are smooth, but war is in his heart. His words are softer than oil, but they are drawn swords. Cast your burden on the Lord, and he will sustain you. Does that remind anybody of the book of 1 Peter? He will never allow the righteous to be shaken. God, you will bring them down to the pit of destruction. Men of bloodshed and treachery will not live out half their days, but I will trust in you. Now, this is quite a prayer. Sorry, I had something else pasted down here, but it looks like I reset it when I added something onto this. This whole thing ends with a pit of destruction. God, you will bring them down to the pit of destruction. Men of bloodshed and treachery will not live out half their days, but I will trust in you. It speaks of the early death of someone who's a smooth talker and a sycophantic, just ingratiator and manipulator, just an absolute narcissist who just sees all people as means to an end. He is actually violent, it says, against those who are at peace with him. This is a person whom you may have been nothing but kind to and who meets you with violent intent. The strong language in this text about being called down to Sheol alive is something that God's actually done, believe it or not. This will kind of blow your mind. I've got the text actually right here. Give me a second to resize it for you. I'm going to come from Numbers 16. And this will be familiar to people who have been with us at least since devotion 739 through 744. When we did the Songs of Korah series, that was actually the first time that we went through a psalm from the sermon, and then each devotion was a different psalm, and even the curriculum for that week was a psalm. I think that's actually free on JCM's website. It's one of those we just give away, and people download it all the time. It's pretty cool actually to get feedback on it. Here is the background to that. I'm not going to go through all of this text. I just wanted you to see where it is. It's Numbers 16, and we've got this whole uprising of people who are saying, you have gone too far. Everyone in the entire community is holy, and the Lord is among them. Why then do you exalt yourselves above the Lord's assembly? We've got a showdown here. Korah and Dathan and where's Ahithophel in this? Have all basically tried to lead a coup against Moses, which is to lead a coup against God's leadership through Moses. And it's a shocking text. Moses became angry and said to the Lord, don't respect their offering. I have not taken one donkey from them or mistreated a single one of them. So Moses told Korah, you and all your followers are to appear before the Lord tomorrow. You, they, and Aaron. Each of you is to take his fire pan, place incense on it, and present his fire pan before the Lord. 250 fire pans. You and Aaron are each to present your fire pan also. And so now God's going to show who's on his side. God's about to tell them, look, separate yourselves from this community so I may consume them instantly. And then Moses actually pleads on behalf of them, saying, God, please don't pour out your wrath on the whole community. And he tells them, get away from the dwellings of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Moses got up and went to Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed him. He warned the community, get away now from the tents of these wicked men. Don't touch anything that belongs to them, or you will be swept away because of all their sins. So they got away from the dwellings of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Meanwhile, Dathan and Abiram came out and stood at the entrance of their tents with their wives, children, and infants. Then Moses said, this is how you will know that the Lord sent me to do all these things, and that it was not of my own will. If these men die naturally, as all people would, and suffer the fate of all, then the Lord has not sent me. But if the Lord brings about something unprecedented, and the ground opens its mouth and swallows them along with all that belongs to them, so that they go down alive into Sheol, then you will know that these men have despised the Lord. Just as he finished speaking all these words, the ground beneath them split open. The earth opened its mouth and swallowed them and their households, all Korah's people and all their possessions. They went down alive into Sheol with all that belonged to them. The earth closed over them and they vanished from the assembly. All right, look, I mean, it gets even more vivid from there, but this is what I wanted to frame for you. There is a biblical precedent in number 16 of people going alive down to Sheol, right? So this was not just figurative language. God, you will bring them down to the pit of destruction. Men of bloodshed and treachery will not live out half their days, but I will trust in you. I've actually seen guys who end up going full anti-Christian get taken out early. I mean, this is what happens to Korah, but spoiler, that's kind of what the whole Songs of Korah series is about. God even brings about redemption because of the legacy here. So in Psalm 55, when we see this language, let death take them by surprise, let them go down to Sheol alive, because evil is in their homes and within them. That's not figurative language. We can see this in the book of Numbers as a real thing that God actually did. And it wasn't the Floridian sinkhole, which I've been around before, and even saw one sinkhole eat the bottom out of the Corvette Museum near the border with Kentucky. It was crazy. I actually had to drive past it to get the doctoral classes at Southern when I lived in Nashville. It's crazy. But the thing about sinkholes is that they open up and they kind of stay open. This is a miracle of God. They went down to Sheol and then the earth closed over them. But the story doesn't end there. And in fact, there are numerous psalms that are attributed to the sons of Korah. These were not the babies in the hands of the people who were consumed by the earth and went into Sheol alive. These are the descendants of Korah who were spared, and they remember that outpouring of God's wrath. There's redemption that comes from their songs that they have written that are a part of the Psalms, which all talk about God's merciful deliverance, the seriousness of God's wrath. That whole series is the Songs of Korah. You can find that sermon in our archive. You can also start, I think, with devotion number 739. I think it was the first time we did anything exclusively on the Psalms. It was only a week long. And all the Songs of Korah, except for I think one, which you say for this series, are all collected there. And they all kind of point back to the same redemptive theme. Number 16 is one of the most horrifying and specific outpourings of God's wrath upon his own people from among his own nation who tried to start a schism. God hates division like that. And so he sends them alive to Sheol, the place of the dead in the Old Testament. God, however, was not done with Korah's legacy because his descendants would be the authors of numerous psalms. As severe as this is, and as true as it is that God has cut lives short because of such division, and he has opened up Sheol to capture live people, at least in Numbers 16 before, there's still redemption in that there are numerous psalms written by the surviving descendants of Korah who learned their lesson the hard way from observing this particular outpouring of God's wrath in the past. You don't have to experience that discipline yourself to learn from it. You learn from someone else's discipline. In fact, why don't you go ahead and learn from Korah's and Dathan's and Abiram's or Ahithophel's. Look at what God has done before. He's literally done what seems like even over-the-top figurative language in this imprecatory psalm. He's done that before. So you can trust that he'll do it again. You don't need to go test the limits of God's grace and see just how much division he will abide, because he's opened up Old Testament hell before upon these people. Learn from God's outpourings of wrath and discipline on other people. You don't need to go experience it yourself. I submit to you, it's partly why God's word is in written form. You don't have to learn that by experience. It's much better to learn this about God from his word.